Hey, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Happy Monday to everyone. It is Monday, July 17th. We're accelerating the pace of time here, it seems. But let's get this going. Let's see what we have to talk about this week. We're starting off a week with the markets down slightly from Friday's peak, right? We topped out Friday into the 4560s on the S&P 500, the low 4560s before dropping about 30 points to the close right now. We have slight little downside coming in, but the main thing is we have earnings. So the S&P is now about 6.5% away from an all-time high, right? It's 6.5% below the all-time high. And this earnings period, honestly, it can be something that can press markets into those high areas, right? When especially if we have tech earnings that come out and they're fabulous, right? You're going to see an aggressive push in the market. So we have some pretty large companies that are going to be reporting earnings this week. Last week we saw that the banks kicked it off. We had JP Morgan that we talked about. We had Citigroup, Wells Fargo. This week we got Goldman Sachs. We also have Tesla. We have Netflix and IBM. So Wall Street expects earnings for the S&P 500 companies to decline for its third straight quarter and see its steepest drop since Q2 2020. That I don't know. I personally don't believe based on those analyst estimates, right, and those expectations. Consumer discretionary companies are forecast to post the highest earnings growth, while the energy sector will likely see a decline leading into Q2. Reporting estimates have been revised down more than normal. Um, so we'll see obviously how tech does hold out and how these earnings do hold out. But so far on banks, right, everyone, all the analysts were looking for bearish bank earnings. And what did we get, right? The start of the period showed some pretty good banking results. So, US stock markets have also rallied despite stubbornly high inflation, weak consumer demand, and the Federal Reserve's drawn out tightening cycle. All major indices gained, with the S&P up about 18%, Nasdaq up about 36%, and Dow Jones up about 4% year to date. The tech-heavy Nasdaq Composite Index rally was spurred by recent waves of AI, as we saw, and investors will be on the lookout for more updates on new tech. Tesla earnings are going to be very interesting this week, but also with chips coming out at later dates, right? We saw that Nvidia had this huge rally from its earnings period last time around. So can something of the same nature hold out? It is fairly possible. China continues to retaliate with its own chip restrictions. The CEO of Intel and Qualcomm are expected to visit Washington this week to discuss China policies, and the chief executives will meet U.S. officials to discuss market conditions, export controls, and other matters that impact their businesses. So the talks come in a wake of U.S. planning fresh restrictions on chip exports to China, while China imposed, what is this? Its own set of export controls. So Intel CEO Pat Gelsinger, I'm not sure how to say his name, meeting in Washington may be especially crucial as the company works to get its $5.2 billion purchase of Tower Semiconductor, TSEM, across the finish line. We also have some other economic news here. We have Microsoft that's linked to a binding deal with rival Sony to keep the video game Call of Duty on PlayStation once its acquisition of Activision Blizzard is complete. The truce marks the end of a prolonged battle in which the Japanese conglomerate raised antitrust concerns over a $69 billion deal. The deal is similar to the 10-year pact with Nintendo. While the US has approved the Activision deal, the UK is yet to clear it, and UK antitrust regulators are expected to make a final decision by the end of August. So, investing group leader Bram de Haas believes that Microsoft is in a strong position in the UK, and the odds for this deal to close have never looked so good to me. We also have some debt reliefs, right? The Biden administration is looking to forgive $39 billion in student debt for over or about 804,000 borrowers in an effort to fix federal student loan systems income driven repayment plans. According to the Education Department, payments that should have brought a borrower close to paying off their debt hadn't been properly accounted for. So the move came after the Supreme Court struck down President Joe Biden's plan to forgive up to $20,000 of student loans per borrower, saying it was unconstitutional. So the ruling has been pushed by his administration to approach the student debt relief issue through a different route. So, in terms of this week, right, I'm going to have a very, very tight focus on the earnings period, obviously. There are a lot of earnings outside of just those big tech names that we did mention with Tesla, Netflix, and IBM, but it kicks off the start of the earnings season like really, really well with Goldman Sachs reporting as well. So, this week, I do want to see if the market can pull lower actually to start the week. I could see some bearishness in the S&P 500 futures market to begin the week as we are at a very, very peak area that was triggered on Friday at 45.55. If I look at this today, and I'm planning to execute today, I'm going to be watching into the low 40s, 45 40s on the S&P 500 futures. If there's some kind of sell pressure from there to see if we can go and target some of the areas lower. There's a distribution block that sits under 45.25. If that gets accepted, we have, I think, a 20-30 point move to the downside that can get explored fairly quickly. So to start the week, I want to see if we can get a pop and drop in this market, right? If we just stubbornly hold bull, you can't do anything about it but join the party. But I want to see if the sellers can try it. They had some kind of strength on Friday. They do very well to continue that strength, but recently we haven't seen sellers perform too well with their opportunities. So that's what I'm mainly looking at. I'm going to see if there is some kind of downside pressure in the market to begin the week and to begin the trading session. And then from there, we will see how earnings do affect these things. So hope everyone enjoyed this update this Monday morning. We'll do this for the rest of the week, and we'll be opening our live futures room in a few minutes. I hope to see you guys there, where we'll be trading together. So thank you all, and we'll chat tomorrow.